The Inner Line Regulation Commission under the NSF today at a press conference here at the Dimapur Naga Student Union's office in Dimapur spoke about the implementation of the ILP. Now, the past few days, a lot of stories have been coming up about the Inner Line permit and the strict enforcement of it. The government has taken a stern stand on this and has been issuing various notifications on this. Plus, we have also received many calls of how confused people are in regard to the ILP. Today, the Inner Line Regulation Commission, headed by the convener, NSN Lotha, who is also the former NSF president, spoke about the strict enforcement and also the memorandum submitted to the deputy commissioners of Chumukadima and Dimapur. Today itself, they submitted this memorandum right here. And in fact, they are going to submit to the DC of Newland as well, but mostly all the calls were left unanswered, so they could not do so today, but they're hoping that in the next 1 or 2 days, they will submit this memorandum to the Deputy Commissioner of Newland as well. Now, they have asked many questions here, specifically 9 questions in regard to the ILP and mostly on data, in fact, and also if the methods of enforcement of the Inner Line regulation in the district as well. What are the methods that the district administrations are going to use to make sure that this ILP enforcement is strictly adhered to? Let's have a look at today's press conference.
At the very outset, I, on behalf of the Inner Line Regulation Commission of the Naga Student Federation, welcome you all to this press conference. I express my gratitude to the press fraternity of Dimapur who have come here with an interest to give us a coverage. We are thankful to you. We are dependent on you. And even in days to come, we look forward to this kind of cooperation. The Naga Student Federation have decided to submit a separate memorandum to the 3 DCs, namely Dimapur, Chumukadima, and Newland, because we consider these 3 districts as a very important district insofar as the implementation and the enforcement of Inner Line regulation is concerned. We also do not overlook the fact that in the rest of the district, the implementation of ILP is not satisfactory. However, we have decided to have this surgical approach to these particular 3 districts because we consider that these 3 districts are the breeding zone for all the influx of outsiders coming to Nagaland. And we also consider that if proper enforcement of Inner Line regulation is done in these 3 districts, we expect that major part of the enforcement problem will be solved. Therefore, we have submitted representation to the deputy commissioners of Dimapur and Chumukadima. We have been trying to contact the DC of Newland. However, for the last many days, we have not been able to contact her, and so far we have not been able to submit the representation to her. Therefore, given the opportunity that we have already submitted the memorandum to these 2 DCs, which I'm sure it is already with you, we have elaborately mentioned as well as penned down our contention in the memorandum. In fact, we are said to say that the influx of outsiders, non-Nagas, who have taken residence in Dimapur are controlling the economy of the whole state. Our memorandum is very clear that because of the hospitable nature of the Nagas, many people from outside comes and take advantage, and instead of becoming respectable guests, many of them have decided and have started behaving like a host. Therefore, we are very firm to state that those outsiders who comes under the purview of inner line regulation cannot and should no longer shy away from this inner line pass system. And now, we also ask the government, since they have already declared Dimapur, Newland, and Jumukitama to come under the purview of the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873. We want that systematic implementation must be done in these 3 districts. Nobody should be allowed to misuse this regulation, and we will not allow any lackadaisical attitude on the part of the administration, on the part of the enforcing agency to relax. We assert that the cut-off year should be 1963, 1st December, where Nagaland was granted a state within the Constitution of India. We are not here to prevent anybody or any non-Nagas coming to Nagaland. We are not here to stop them from coming to Nagaland. At the same time, we also want to send a message to those people who comes to Nagaland that they must respect the existing laws, the existing regulations, without which they will be deemed defaulters, and existing laws should be imposed on them. Henceforth, the Naga Student Federation, which has been championing the rigid and stringent enforcement of inner land regulation, will not be cowed down by any threats, by any forces, and we are very firm to ensure that the inner land regulation is implemented in letter and spirit. In fact, as far as the NSF is concerned, it is not a new thing. Even as late as 1978-79, NSF had submitted a representation to the government of Nagaland. Had the government of Nagaland heeded to those representations, the situation would have been far different from what is happening or for what is being seen today. Therefore, we are here not to oppose the government. We are here not to confront the government, but we are here to assist the government to create an awareness. Let people understand that Nagaland is not a common state. It is a unique state born out of movement, which is the Naga political movement. And it should be treated a unique state, and we want that people coming from outside must respect and must adhere to the uniqueness and to the existing system of Nagaland state. Having said that, I would like to also request my colleagues if they want to add something, and I would also like to invite the press people for any question that you would like to put up.
You must have all gone through our presentation to our respected DCs. So basing on that, or basing on what our commander has already shared, we can put forward any questions if we have.
While I'm waiting for your questions, out of the 9-point representation that we have submitted to the deputy commissioners, I would particularize one point, that is those outsiders who used to come to these 3 districts in the morning and they used to leave in the evening. We are even concerned for those people. There will be no exemptions. everybody will have to be under the radar of the existing inner line regulations. We have made it very clear to the deputy commissioners that they should come out with a mechanism to deal with these people who comes only for a day. So we are going to be very minute, and we will leave no stone unturned to ensure that the implementation of this inner line regulation succeeds in its fullest form.
So, how confident are you that the government will be able to implement the ILP regulation? If we want to draw a parallel, we have the NLTV Act. It's as good as dead. So, how can we expect the government to be efficient?
As far as we are concerned, the government is for the people, by the people and of the people. And in many ways, the government also can be awakened by the voice of the people. And we hope and believe that the voice of the people will surely overwhelm the government to respond to the demand, to the call of the situation. And today's situation is such that the future of the Nagas are at threat. We are going to be a servant. We are going to be slaves in our own land. If you look at the economy of the state, nobody will be surprised if they are told that more than 95% of the shop establishment in these three districts are controlled by outsiders, because it is on the ground. And it is because there is no stringent implementation of the ILB system. The economy is in the hands of the outsiders. The development that is being done by Nagaland state is for outsiders. I'm sure Nagaland government will be awakened, because today we're confident that the Naga people have decided to awaken and have decided that the future of Nagaland's economy must come into the hands of the indigenous citizens of the state.
So, we all know business in Nagaland is dominated by the non-Nagas. But will it not be unfair to blame them for our own, say, inefficiency or laziness? Why are we not, trying to capture the business instead of, going back to ILP?
As far as that is concerned, there are always two sides of the same coin. Sometimes, if the system is not conducive for the local people, it is exploited by non-local people. The Nagaland government has created such a system that is not conducive for the local people, for which non-locals have taken advantage of that. Therefore, we are asking that the system should be made conducive for the local people, so that the local people can avail the advantage of taking the economy into our own hands.
So what would you also tell the Naga political groups? We all know business run under their patronage.
See, as far as Naga political movement is concerned, these are the other side of the spectrum insofar as the inner line regulation issue is concerned. We cannot mix coffee and tea because it will be too bitter. Therefore, that is another area which the NSF has been addressing it, and the NSF will address it not on a wholesome issue, on a wholesome approach, but the NSF is already taking its own approach ever since it was formed, and the system of approach that the NSF has been doing with Naga political group will continue.
So does the Airline Regulation Committee of the NSF, does the ILRC have any estimate number of outsiders, non-Lakas, living in these three districts of Dimapur, Chumkidam and Yunan?
That's a very interesting question. The Inner Line Commission was formed just about 3 months back. We are yet to start a journey on that. Surely we will embark on that and we will do our own assessment. Because without that assessment, it will also not be very clear for our approach to be systematic.
So you have, the committee has also set forward a list of recommendations to the state government, and the government has yet to implement those. So is the committee planning to meet the government again, or how is the committee going to approach this inaction of the government?
I'm very happy that the press people are following up the course of the commission, and I'm happy that the memorandum that has been submitted to the national government is in your knowledge. We have submitted it on 4th of April. 2 months is going to elapsed. So after some time, we will surely send a reminder to the government on the action taken upon it. And of course, the reminder and the response of the Nagaland government will give us a clarity as to what steps can be taken for further necessary action.
So what are the main reasons for the poor enforcement of these inner line regulations in the district?
Come back again.
What are the main reasons for the poor enforcement of these inner line regulations in the district?
Particularly, there can be no main reason, no less reasons, because ILB is the reason itself. Therefore, our agenda is that, particularly in these three districts, the enforcement should be more rigid, more regimental, and certain different approach also has to be done in these three districts, which may not be in uniformity with the other districts. That is why we have decided to make this surgical approach on these three districts.
There will be, of course, violators, ILP violations will be delayed. But what about the unjust for ILP violation, like which unjust people will having the right documents and the right, but there will be instances where it will be quite unfair for few also with the right papers. Will the commission also look into that to help individuals that have been treated unjustly in this regard?
That's a very interesting issue. NSF actually is very particular about human rights violation. Therefore, the question that you have asked is a matter of human rights violation. People who are justly staying in Nagaland and who are actually exempted from the purview of the ILB should never be discriminated. And if such cases are there, and if such cases are found, we request them to directly approach us. If not, the office of Dimapur Naga Sunsun, the office of Dibobar Naga Sunsun, they are readily available, and we will surely ensure that injustice is not committed in the name of the enforcement of ILP.
Considering the porous borders that we have around, do we have the manpower, the government, the unions and all, the manpower to actually keep a check on each and every, considering the porous borders that we have?
Yes, if we look at international borders, although there are electric wire fencings, yet infiltration takes place. No matter how much the amount of strictness that you may enforce, certainly infiltrators will be there. However, our desire is that no efforts should be kept in hand to ensure that the borders are well checked, the borders are well manned. That is why in our memorandum, we have already mentioned that dedicated enforcing personnels should be made available specifically for enforcement of this ILP. They should be oriented, they should be sensitized so that they don't discriminate people coming from outside. In fact, we want that ILP issue, the kind of pass given to outsiders coming to Nagaland should not have unnecessary hindrance. There should be an ease of getting the pass. There should be no unnecessary harassment. So we are very definite that once the government wakes up for the enforcement, we are aware that there will be challenges. And the more the challenge, the more we get awakened to find out a solution. We know that stringent enforcement of this ILB surely will also create ramifications. Those ramifications will be an eye-opener for us to ensure that a solution is found. And we're ready to assist the government in that respect.
Sir, this is in regard with the cup of year. And for the convenience of all, I'll ask you now. Then, cut off year before 1st December 1963, including non-Nagas inhabitant of Nagaland. But if government has 1963 or 1979, so you have a commission send to
Amagan laga stando yadiki paper di likhi gena ase. NSF to ito laga stando itya nutun kwa laga noy moy kwa nishna 19 late 70s para amagan laga stando ito ase aro itui amagan laga stand hobo even in near future also.
One last thing. The process has now started, but a lot of confusions or should say difficulties are being faced by people who are trying to register, especially families, people who are here with families. So they're confused whether only the parents would register or does it also include their children. Have you discussed, evaluated, analyzed this kind of situation?
Yes, as far as ILB is concerned, it is
What
not.
does the law say on this?
Yes, it is not a collective. It's not a collective pass. It's an individual pass. Therefore, a pass has to be one-to-one basis. Whether it is a student or whether it's children with family, every individual must have a separate inner line pass in so long as they are not exempted from the purview of these regulations. And today, let me also tell you that in our meeting with the two deputy commissioners, we're happy that the two TCs also, they are also embarking on sensitizing the non-Nagas who are within the purview of the inner land pass. We are also in favor of the fact that since this is an initial process, we don't want any harsh penalty, we don't want any kind of stringent regulation in its fullest to be imposed on those defaulters. We are very happy that the two TCs are actually deputing their own officers to sensitize the people. Because although the enforcement of this inner line regulation has been there since 1963, yet because of the lackadaisical nature of the enforcement, many people are not aware of the system. So we don't want any victimization. We don't want any innocent non-Nagas to be harassed. So we're happy that the deputy commissioners are also taking the sensitization exercise. And gradually, after people have been sensitized, surely the full force of the law will come into effect.
So lastly, when it comes to ILB issue, there are many misconceptions, especially for the non-Nagas. Likewise, for Nagas, if we visit Arunachal, Mizoram, and other part of Manipur, we have to take ILB, even for the Nagas also. So, jadi problem tu issue itu non-Nagas kan misconception tu itu takkan bigala lah, boleh dihan kita particular community itu particular jati ke target kurang boleh itu laga boleh dihan orang sensitize boleh itu orang. Basically itu jadi alat jati kan bi takkan bi ISU boleh itu bi takkan bi ILB logo lagi itu lagi orang sensitize.
See, amakan yade Nagaland ILP enforcement ase. Amakan Arunachal de jalebi, amakan bi ILP logo lage. Kile mana amakan Arunachal de jaise kule, amakan to Indian citizen hoy. To tade Arunachal manu yade ILP, taikan bi ILP logo lage. Ami Mizoram jaile to ILP loy. Amakan ki saigena Mizo ase koi kena ILP na mangilebi, ami do ILP loi kena jai. Itia bi ami Mizoram de 9-10 times jaise, sob record ase ami ILP loi. Eto karone, wherever you may be, when you entered a state that comes under the purview of the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873, you have to abide by their system and follow their system. So similarly, anybody coming to Nagaland who are not indigenous inhabitants are required to obtain inner line pass.
Will there be a deadline also for sensitization of government officials, employees, personnel? Because apparently when a lot of foreigners go to the offices to apply for maybe protected area permits, foreigners, they're just not being heed to because they don't know information as well. They themselves are not aware of certain information or documents required. And we have received complaints from
Yes, the period of sensitization must be very reasonable. Enough time must be given for this sensitization. However, it cannot be indefinite. There will come a time when the people will feel that sensitization has been done to a reasonable extent. And from that stage, as I said, the full force of the law must take place.